Hi, and welcome back to Epic Content Marketing 2016. I'm here with Jeff, and
Thank you.
you had a great talk yesterday.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I
Yeah.
didn't see it, but people were talking about it. So,
Okay.
could you fill me and our audience in about what you were talking about?
I talked about the three key pillars to succeeding at content marketing, and that's what I've discovered over the last 7 years as a blogger and as a content creator and as a content marketer. And the first step is you need to get traffic. You don't exist without traffic online. So in a digital world, traffic is all important. So I covered the key ways to actually get traffic, and that's search engines, social media, and also email. And I talk very much about the importance of turning what we call paid traffic and earned traffic that shows up on your site into owned traffic.
Yeah.
In other words, because the changing algorithms of search engines and Facebook and Instagram and now Twitter is actually really impacting the ability to generate that earned traffic. So when you get them to turn up, you really need to get their attention. The second step is actually when you've got them there, is to turn them into what we'd say, you need to engage them. And engagement is really important. You need to create the best content you can.
Yeah.
So you've really got to seduce the actual visitor. And so a great headline is where it starts, and then it's the structure, and we looked at the different ways to create content that's really compelling and to be interesting.
Yeah.
And then those first two steps, traffic and then the engagement with the content, is great, and we can all look at the shares we get, and that's fantastic. But if you don't do the last one, it's basically all just a lot of noise. It's a waste of time. So if you don't do the last one, you effectively will fail at content marketing. That's converting people into potential customers, like leads is one word to use to describe it, and the other one is customers.
Yeah.
And that's what the CEO is going to be asking. He said, what is the use of this content that we're creating unless we're getting leads, and that's turning into business for the brand.
A lot of the people I've interviewed for the past 2 days have talked a lot about putting the right content in front of the right audience. But how would you go about to define and identify the right audience?
You've got to listen to the audiences that you engage with on the different social media channels. To actually engage at scale, you really need to use something like a digital marketing automation platform, whether it's a Marketo, Infusionsoft, or at the big end of town you've got Adobes and IBMs and so on. So it's important to use those sort of things. Like someone comes in, they might download a blogging book. Well, you know they're going to be interested in blogging. They might download a Twitter ebook or something like that. Then you know they're interested in social media.
Yeah.
So when they come in using these sort of tools, you can tag those as being where they're coming from and what they're interested in, and then you can segment your audience that way. So this is where digital marketing automation becomes really, really powerful.
Yeah. You also talked about differentiating between paid and organic traffic.
Yep.
And unfortunately, some of the speakers today don't trust Facebook as much as I do.
Right.
But would you say that when it comes to content and working with content marketing, should everyone just rely on the fact that if your content doesn't kind of get the push it deserves,
right,
paid traffic will kind of perhaps solve the issue of generating more traffic?
Absolutely. So you should be doing two things in parallel. Earned is great, but the challenge with earned is it takes time to earn it.
Yeah.
So, like if you want it from social media, it takes time. So I've got about 460,000 Twitter followers, but that's taken me 7 years.
Yeah.
So it's great, but it's just taken time. And the same with Facebook likes, which are not so useful anymore because Facebook's wound back its algorithm. So you should be still building that. Another thing you should be doing is continuing to earn that traffic from search engines. In other words, build authority with Google. Again, the challenge takes time.
Yeah.
So if you want to accelerate the process, and most people don't want to wait for years to get traffic, you need to pay for it. But if you're paying for it, you need to be measuring what the result of that traffic is.
Yeah.
So you don't be spending, if you want to turn those into leads, you don't want to be spending $200 on paid Facebook ads and only make $100. You're basically losing money.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be paying for it, you need to be measuring it.
What objectives do you measure on, or how do you measure it?
Well, basically you can measure opt-ins for an email list, for example. So, and then you can measure how many of those subscribers then turn into customers. So to track that path is really, really important. So every brand has their own, I suppose, KPIs and what success looks like. For some, it's brand awareness.
Yeah.
That might be the first objective. But then the ultimate goal of any business is you've got to turn it into revenue.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you come across a small business that see the potential in content but haven't really started yet, what's your tip for them?
Start straight away. The challenge with content marketing is that they don't see it. They can't see that if something's not happening really quickly, they're going, well, this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
The thing about content is you should be looking at it, especially in the online world, as a digital asset. It's something you continue to build and build.
Yeah.
And I like the analogy by Stephen King, the fiction writer who wrote a book on writing, which was about his passion for writing and also the toolbox for writing.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that essentially writing a book and creating content, he said you write a book one word at a time. And he said, have a look at the Great Wall of China, right? It was built one brick at a time, but now you can see it from space.
Yeah.
So you've got to be looking at content marketing not as a sprint but as a marathon. It's really important to understand that you are building a digital asset that will give you traffic and leads and sales and engagement over time.
Yeah.
So I've got about 1,500 blog posts and about 2 million words, and 55% of my traffic now comes from search engines, and that's free.
Yeah.
So, but this has taken time. So it's really important to understand that it's not a zero-sum game. You've got to get in the game because it will produce results down the track. It will be tough at first and going, nothing's happening. It'll be frustrating because it's a marathon.
A lot of, or a couple of speakers yesterday were talking about consistency and frequency.
Yep.
And I know that Joe actually mentioned that brands should at least post once a day or at least 5 times a week in order to build like the expectation the readers have that, you're getting a new post or a new piece of content every day.
Yep.
Is that, would you recommend that?
Absolutely. Essentially, you've got to think like a publisher. So if you think like a magazine or I think like a newspaper, what do? Magazine might publish once a week, once a month. Newspapers going to print every day, effectively. So when I started creating content, I did it 2 to 3 times a week, and I realised, okay, I need to up the game. And for a couple of years, I was doing 4 to 5 blog posts a week. And the impact of that down the track has just been fantastic. So you really got to think like a publisher and be consistent and just keep at it.
But how won't the frequency kind of backfire on the quality?
I put time in, so I made sure it was up to the quality that I demanded. The quality's gone up and up over time. So when I started, it was like 106 word blog post, right? And as I talked about yesterday, and I showed it, the quality of content required has also gone up. So longer blog posts, so 1,000, 2,000 words, even to 3,000 words, the sort of content standard, especially in the written, blog posts. So, but what's happened on my blog, for example, is that because I've got a lot of traffic now, I have a lot of guest bloggers who write for free because I can give them attention. And so I've been able to do that by outsourcing effectively the content creation. So you've got to work out a way to do content creation at scale. It might be something like I'm involved with a company called Shuttle Rock, and they do user-generated content, which is visual content. So, but that's done through an app which can be given to employees as advocates, and the employees then can create visual content around the brand. So you've got to work out the different ways that you can actually scale your content creation. And yes, you don't want to be publishing bad content. You need to make sure that you're creating the best content you can, but it doesn't have to be perfect. There's things like, I'm not going to publish it till I get it just right. Well, that will never happen because nothing's perfect.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's a pleasure. Great to chat.